The slop never stops. Yes, you read the title correctly. This is the Sonic Unleashed Yap Session. So the way I'm going to be doing this is I'll be talking about the gameplay styles, then I'll be talking about some of my thoughts about the story, then I'm going to go over the hub worlds, my favorite level, my least favorite level, and then finally the recently released unofficial PC port. So for this game, it's definitely a lot more unique than a lot of the other mainline Sonic games, because you actually have two levels of play. The first one being where you play as, Sonic, running through the daytime stages, and then at night you're playing through the Werehog stages. The Werehog was just added as like a little thingy to just like pad out the gameplay and shit. And you can kind of tell, but I still enjoy it, and I think there's a lot more depth to it than most would really expect. Like, I think a lot of people play the Werehog stages, and they don't bother to level up any of their life or their shield or anything like that, or any of their attacks. They don't bother to learn how it actually plays, and so they just kind of like write it off as shitty and unfinished, when it's got more thought to it than that. And, the daytime stages, they are significantly more involved than some of the other modern Sonic games. Like, compare a level from Unleashed to Colors or Generations, and, like, the difference is night and day, because, there's a lot you gotta look out for in the levels from Unleashed. There are more obstacles, there are more enemies. It really does test your knowledge of the level. And I think in that aspect I really do appreciate it. But I will say, when you are going through the levels for the first time, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass. When you're so used to how it is in Generations and Colors, where, the levels are like relatively easy. Now, of course, that's mainly just for like the HD version. Sonic Unleashed on the Wii and PS2, as I'm sure you know, they were handled by a completely different development team, because they were much weaker hardware-wise than the PS3 and 360, and it required basically making a completely different game. The Werehog stages in the now the stages are a lot more different. They're split up into different sections, and on one hand, I'm kind of like, that's alright, that's okay. It's fine, it's whatever. But, I don't know, I kind of prefer how the levels in the HD version feel a lot more complete. It feels like you're getting the complete package. It doesn't feel like you're just going through, sections and highlights of a level. And I think one thing I don't really like is that, you can kind of, there's kind of an upgrade system. There's kind of a sense of progression with the Werehog levels in the Wii and PS2 version, but you almost don't even really feel it, because it's a lot more similar to how it is in God of War. At least the PS2 God of Wars, not God of Soy on the PS4 and PS5. None of that stuff. But yeah, it's a lot more similar to that, where you kind of feel it, but at the same time, you kind of don't. I don't know, I just think everything was handled a lot better in the HD version, but I will say that if this is your only way of playing it back in the day, you're fine. You have nothing to really worry about. Now, as for the story, I would honestly go as far as to say that this is one of the better modern Sonic stories. It took itself seriously, but it didn't take itself too seriously. It knew when to tell jokes, but it also knew when, to let things slide and let things, it didn't just make a mockery of itself, You weren't just getting the shitty Pontac and Graph writing style. You're actually getting decent writing. Decent, plot beats. It felt like there were actual stakes. And, I feel like this is the last time that Sega really put any kind of budget into a Sonic game before, Frontiers and Shadow Generations. Because, even though this game didn't really do too well, critically, or I think it kind of did well financially. I'd have to fact check that later, if I can even bother to. Who cares? This is a fucking slop video. You're probably just like sitting through this while you're scrolling through your fucking TikTok, while you're fucking playing Fortnite, and you're fucking gooning or whatever. I feel like this is the last time, before the modern games and the movies where there are actual stakes within the story. And I kind of wish that, that bracelet that Chip gave to Sonic at the end, I kind of wish that kind of like became like a mainstay of his character design. But I get why they didn't necessarily keep it. It kind of allowed this game to stay on its own. I guess maybe they kind of either forgot about it or maybe they just didn't really consider it that important. But I think it would have been cool. Now, as for the hub worlds, I think they do a really good job of painting a picture of the culture that they're trying to represent. And it's no surprise to me that a lot of people that worked on this game, in sense of like the hub worlds department, a lot of them actually went on to work on Mario Odyssey, and you can absolutely tell, because, these worlds are just brimming with color, imagination, life. They feel like actual lived-in worlds, despite being really small. And I guess one thing to add here, I guess I can talk about this briefly. Sun and Moon medal hunting. Yeah, it sucks. I don't know what else you want me to say. I think it was handled better in the Wii and PS2 version. Fucking hot take of the year, I know. As for my favorite level, I would definitely say it's a tie between Empire City Day and Jungle Joyride Day. As much as I will defend the Werehog stages, they do slow down the pace of the game. I don't really know if I would classify them as my favorites, but I feel like these levels just do a really good job of taking everything you know about the level and using it to your fullest extent. And I'm sure you can figure out what I mean by that. But pretty much, I just feel like they use all of the abilities that you earn over the course of the entire game to the fullest. And while they may be, kind of difficult on your first playthrough, it is extremely satisfying to get through them perfectly and get that S rank. It's kind of hard to talk about why you like something. But in the words of Jonathan Rosansky Enter, it is easy to take a car apart, but it is difficult to put that car back together. And, that's why I'm kind of just like winging it with my positive critiques here. I think my least favorite level, I think it might be Eggman Land. Because, it just fucking goes on forever and ever and ever. And while I do like that it, kind of swaps between, regular Sonic and Werehog Sonic, I feel like it takes way too fucking long to get through. I've seen people do, S-rank runs that fucking took, half an hour to do. And that's fucking insane to me. I'm sorry, but I just do not fucking have the time or patience to get through that. I don't know what you fucking fuckers expect out of me, The last thing I have on my notes for this very special Yap session is the PC port of Sonic Unleashed, the unofficial one that was made through Static Recompilation. So basically what they did, they took the original EXE from, Sonic Unleashed on the 360, and they recompiled it in C++ for modern-day Windows machines, and Linux. For the longest time, I had reserved to myself to believe that either an official or unofficial port of Sonic Unleashed would just never happen, because of just how much of an undertaking it truly was. But I guess I underestimated the abilities of certain people because, You know, we finally have it, and it looks and it runs beautifully. I mean, like, this thing can run on pretty much almost any machine. It runs pretty well on Steam Deck. It runs pretty well on, like, a potato fucking Windows laptop from, like, 10 years ago. You know, the Sonic fan community always just blows my mind with what they're able to accomplish. This could be used for making native PC ports of other games, like, you know, that are exclusive to the 360 and haven't been ported to PC. And yeah, it's impressive. I don't know what else to say. It's definitely going to be my go-to way of playing Unleashed. You know, I've tried to get like Xenia and RPCS3 working, and you know, it just never really worked well for me. Especially RPCS3, I just don't have good enough hardware for it. Especially with my, you know, my Bottleneck 3000. You know, even the Steam Deck, you know, doesn't even really run, you know, RPCS3 all that well. Like, it does some games okay, but like, it's still just not there yet. You know, I think Sonic Unleashed is like, for a while it was like probably my favorite Sonic game. And, you know, after this replay through, it's definitely up there in my top 10, but I don't think I like it as much as I originally did back when I had first played it. Now, I still appreciate the hell out of it, and I still really like what it was able to accomplish and, you know, what it did for the Sonic franchise, but I do feel it is lacking in some areas. And there are some really annoying things that I think for first-timers can be kind of a deal breaker. So yeah, that was this Sonic Unleashed Yap session. I hope you enjoy watching my slop. That's it for this you know, slop video. I love slop. I love making slop. I love eating slop. And I hope you have a very sloppy day.